Welcome back to the Super Tuesday recap on the MTR Network. This is your host, Chris, here. And D-Palm, because he got married, is off in the mountains somewhere, or at least he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be off of social media, but if you've been around social media, then you've seen him around, because that's just, he can't let go. But filling in for D-Palm this time on our Flash review is I have a good friend of the network, and just a good friend personally of mine. I have Rod from Black Guy Tips. What's going on, Rod?
Hashtag feminism.
Yes, definitely. Because we were talking about the episode. This is episode 5, right? Yes, episode 5 of season 4 of The Flash, Girls Night Out, which is basically, yes, you're right, hashtag feminism. Caitlin fears that her pastime as Killer Frost may be back to haunt her. Felicity helps celebrate Iris's bachelorette party while Barry is taken out for a night on the town. Before I even get into this episode, though, since this is your first time, this might be your first time being on Super Tuesday recap.
It is.
So,
was it Comic Books Corner where we did the review for Secret Empire?
Oh, you know what? So you have been on Secret Tuesday, but never for like a TV review. So yeah, when we did like Secret Empire, that was Super Tuesday. But we've never had you on for like a TV show review or something like that. Like I know I've been on Black Guy Tips for like I think for Game of Thrones and for when I was watching it, The Walking Dead, but never for you. I never had you on for the TV show. So I guess before we go further, I guess we're 4 episodes into this season. Just overall, what are you thinking about that? Well, first of all, what did you think of last season, and then what do you think of this season so far?
Wasn't a fan of last season. I thought they went too dark, and it was very hard to get back. I thought they went to the well a couple too many times on some cliches. Not just the speedster supervillain, which I think we've kind of gotten a little bit tired of, and at least I have, and then the doppelganger thing, I've gotten a little tired of that. And then more importantly, though, they did this flash forward thing the whole season with Iris's potential death.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not a fan of that. I think I realized when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did it for the season before this one, the one where Daisy's boyfriend dies.
Oh, Lincoln,
Lincoln, the Inhuman dude that I don't think any of us wanted them to be together anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But when I don't mind those type of things, right? Like I know it's a cliche to kill somebody at the end. I don't mind it, but I think it's always a letdown when you start telling your audience, 12, 15, sometimes 20 episodes before it happens, you're saying the one person will die or they won't make it, and it's flash forward to this person, and like whatever the twist is to get out of it, because it's always a twist, it's just never worth it, man. And for Flash, they started telegraphing that stuff, I want to say like halfway through or maybe even before that of the season, and it never panned out. So I was not a fan last season.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing, because you mentioned Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. When Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. did it, they did it like, we're like, 4 or 5 episodes out from the end. It's like, so even if it doesn't pay off, you're like, well, you still got most of the season. Like you're right. The Flash did it like, I want to say before the mid-season break, we kind of all knew what was going on. So it was like, and then they kept carrying it to the end. It's like that became the plot line. You're just like, come on, guys. Like,
I think before they went away for Christmas, even they had the Iris is gonna die. Flash forward, and then it makes, of course, everyone sad. Everyone's trying to figure ways out around it, and it just becomes this doom hanging over the show, even though the rest of the show becomes the writers trying to convince us that it can happen when we all know it's not going to happen, because no show ever does that, where they, they're like, this person is going to definitely die, and then they kill them. They always somehow change it at the end, so I felt like it hurt the stakes.
Right. When you think about it last season, not only did they not kill Iris, but then they kill HR, who has another doppelganger already.
Yeah.
So it's like we had all kind of started liking HR, but at the same time, you're like, Well, Tom Cavanaugh's not going anywhere because you literally have endless Tom Cavanaugh. You have endless Harry Wells on the show, so you literally kill the person that you. It's like killing one of multiple men's like clones. Just like fuck it, he'll create another one. It's like it really was one of those things where it's like you guys really dig. And I think they even said this. They didn't have their end rant written out, so they were kind of making it up as they went along, and you could tell.
Yeah, he's my favorite Wells, and I still was okay with that.
Right.
Like, I was just like, yeah, okay, we'll get it. You know, it's like a bus. You know what I mean? You miss one, you get another one in the next 15 minutes.
Right. It's just like, and not to mention, he was the least invested we had out of everybody. Yeah, we've seen a Wells before, but this HR. He just came in this season, so it's like, so you're not killing anybody who fucking matters. You know, and again, like, and to be fair, well, shit, no, because now I think about it, even like with killing Lincoln and Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., he at least been on there the season before. So he at least had gotten a whole season of him. Even if you didn't like him, he at least earned it, right? You're like, oh, well, okay, you know, I can see that. Here, you're just like, you're basically killing a clone. Like, nobody.
I've been rolling my eyes at Lincoln for a good 18 episodes. And the thing is, it's not like Lincoln was that integral part of the plot, and it's not like their love was so like, oh my God, star-crossed lovers. And even, and like you said, and then they don't even pull that like we're gonna kill somebody thing until the last 6 or 7 episodes. And then with this, you just from the outset, you know, get we're gonna kill Iris, and you know, when it turns out to be HR, I'm just like, okay. There's even a moment in the show where they almost forget to bury HR, and I'm like, that's about right. Like, they had to have a moment to be like, oh yeah, we should have a funeral because we like totally killed the dude.
Well, that's the funny thing about this season right now, right? Because you know, nobody's really mentioned HR. Like, Harry's back. And so you literally got a guy who looks like a guy who sacrificed himself for Iris and Liv last season, and now he's back, and nobody mentions HR. Nobody mentioned him.
They mentioned fugitive HR before they mentioned HR that literally died for the crew. Like, they were like, what if someone mistakes me for the dude that was evil? Like,
right. Oh, you know,
y'all didn't even care that HR could have got mistaken for the evil version of HR.
Oh shit! You know what they're treating HR like? They're treating HR like the Teen Titans treated Jason Todd. They didn't put a statue up, and so Jason came back, was mad as shit, and was like, "Yo, where the fuck is my statue? I didn't get a statue for being a fallen Robin. Well, technically, you were only here for a little bit, so no."
Oh man.
So what are you thinking about this season so far?
Oh man, I love this season. This is one of the things that CW shows don't get enough credit for. They listen to critique.
They bounce back.
And they come back strong. Like, they might have a down season, a down half a season, but they never make the same mistake twice, in my opinion, as far as like criticism. And for all the misgivings I have about the last season, they did Iris way better last season. Like, I think they heard everybody that said, I don't like how you sacrificed Iris in the first half of season 2 with this whole setting up Legends of Tomorrow stuff. And I think they heard that stuff and they went, okay, we're going to make Iris a very serious, big part of the show. And she's been a big part, even a bigger part so far this season. You know, I think while I understand people that would probably have an issue with Wally not getting a longer stint as the Flash or not getting more of a part after Barry came back, it hasn't bothered me that much. You know, especially after the hair. I mean, I'm like, dude, you can go now.
he got the it's gonna play fucked up, but he got the I voted for Bernie haircut.
He got the good hair now, man. I don't know what happened with my man, dude. I seen me and Karen legitimately had to pause the TV and be like, baby, is his hair different? Because it wasn't even like gradual. It was just like one scene. It was just bam, permed up. I was like, what? My man is fried, dyed, and laid to the side, bro. So,
you know the funny thing about it is, it's not even like you can blame CW for that either. Like, that is his normal. Like, you see pictures of him off the show, and his hair is still like that. He was just like, it's me now. I'm sorry, guys. This is how it's going to be. Yeah. Wally has his hair now.
That's what happened when you get that series regular check.
Right.
He went from like guest appearance to series regular. He was like, well, guys, actually, now that I'm getting a steady check, there's going to be a few changes.
He needed a hairstyle so he could flip his hair as he walked out of his trailer.
It's like how I had this joke one time about when Colin Kaepernick first came in the league. He had the short haircut and he was wearing a suit. Mm-hmm. And then after he kneeled, he had that big ass fro.
Oh yeah, it kept growing too. It kept growing. Like the more he kneeled, the more he grew.
Dude, I was like, that's how we come to work when we get the interview versus how we come to work the first day of the job. That's how my man Wally looks. He looks like after you do the 90 days.
Yo, that's what Avery Brooks did on Deep Space Nine on Star Trek. For the first like 2-3 seasons, he had first 3 seasons he had hair. And then that 4th season, he comes back with the goatee and the bald head. that's when the no fucks came in no more. It was just like, I was like, oh, so you really a nigga now, yeah, right?
I love it, man.
But, no, it's great.
Wally is like the opposite, though. It's like, I was like, oh, what are you doing, bro? But at any rate, I think it's been better. I think Cisco's been getting more and more screen time in a good way, and becoming a more 3-dimensional character. And I also think, while Caitlin's powers still drive me up a wall, the fact that they make her crazy, quote unquote, the way that they've now like done that, especially this episode, they've given new life to it in a way that makes it fun.
It works actually better now. Cause it's like you know what it is. And we'll get more into the episode now, but it feels like it's not that she's going crazy, you know? Because before it felt like she was going crazy, but in this one, you could even see at some point, you could see Killer Frost and she like actually it's a different personality, but it's not that she's crazy. It's just a type of personality. It's like 2 people in one, you know? And that felt more real. Like I'll actually go as far as saying that I feel like all the characters are written better. Any character that's around again, and I have some Wally stuff later on that I want to bring up, but like all the characters overall feel like they're written better, and like you said, like CW does a good job of bouncing. And I think I'll say this: CW, their Arrowverse shows, I think Agent shows the same thing. Like they're all really good at what worked, what didn't work last season. All right, let's redo that and go forward. And I think they're doing a really really good job this season. You know one thing that's really gotten me, and I think this is something that has been sticking out with me with Arrow this season, and it got me this episode. They're getting bold, and I think because like you have all these shows, they've been around for multiple seasons. I think the writers and the showrunners feel really confident in their show, so they're doing things like on Arrow. You've had at least 2 episodes with Diggle as Green Arrow, like even down to the opening. Like they're like Diggle's a Green Arrow. Oliver hasn't put the suit on, right? In this episode, not only Barry doesn't put the suit on, I have to go back and watch it again. I don't think he uses his powers.
He does one time to get peanuts from the bar.
Or did he?
Yeah. Cecile goes, did you just use your powers? He was like, I just got some peanuts from the bar. It's like, this nigga's so drunk.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. We don't know if he did or not because then like Cisco was like, but you didn't even move, or did I? Right. And like we don't know because they didn't use the speed powers, and I think they did it. I think they did it so that we can get all the other stuff we got in the episode with the ladies. But like that's a bold move in that the show is called The Flash. You have Grant Gustin as the lead, and he takes a back seat this episode pretty much. He's there, and you get some storyline with him, but he takes a back seat. He doesn't use his powers. They don't put him in the suit, and they still put out a good episode. I mean, And like I said, there's something that Arrow's done. Like it's opening up a lot of more possibilities of what we can see them doing in the future because they're playing around with things and it's working and it doesn't distract from the episode or anything. Like, if you told me, remember the pilot episode, within half the episode, Barry's in the suit,
Right.
If you had told me this 4 years ago that, they're going to do an episode where Barry doesn't even put the suit on and, it doesn't even use his powers, I would have called you fucking crazy. But they did it this episode, and there's so many other things that goes on, and there's so many other characters they can use that it doesn't skip a beat. And it feels natural, it feels good.
Not just Barry, no Flash, no Speedster.
Yeah.
Like, there's no Speedster in this episode, because, if you would have told me Barry doesn't put on the suit, I'm like, oh, yeah, because Wally or Jesse or... So, but no, just nobody puts on the suit, dog. It's just, it was such a fun episode, too. That's the other thing when you were talking about this season and how I feel about it. They just got back to the fun, man.
Yeah.
You can't out-Arrow. You're not going to out-sad Oliver. So to see them take last season and think and go, okay, how do we separate this show from the other shows? Because Supergirl went kind of sad last season. Flash went sad last season. Legends stood out from the pack because they said, let's get more silly. And Arrow, you just can't outsad them. It's fucking impossible. You know what I mean?
Impossible.
It's like you're never gonna pull the levers that the Arrow writers are willing to pull to make a point, So to see them come back and we get, Barry running up the arm of Stretchy Dude to get to the helicopter. Dude, I was in the house laughing, applauding, because that's the shit that I've been wanting from them the whole time. This is a show where you can fight a fucking man shark, but this is a show where Gorilla Grodd can show up and you make it a 2-part episode. Like, don't try to do what Arrow does. Do what Flash does, and they're back to that, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, shoot, when Felicity shows up in this episode, Ralph is over there testing out his powers, and so only his lower half is there. She's just like, what? You know what? Nope, not doing this. It's that kind of stuff. It's like, it's just, and again, this entire episode, like, it gets serious with the ladies and what what's going on with Caitlin and then, Iris taking charge and stuff like that. But like the guys' night out stuff is fucking hilarious. Like,
and they want the cast to pull this off now.
Yeah.
You have some legit comedic actors. You have the range, and you have the diversity, man. Like, there's not a lot of shows that can make the feminism episode, quote unquote.
Right.
Like they have enough capable women who have been written well enough, and at least they've been written about enough where they can hold an episode down on their own, man.
Right. Like, so you bring in, let's start with the ladies. So you have you have Iris, who they, like you said, even with the plot line of they were trying to, Iris is going to be killed, they still did a lot with their character that made it better than I think, more along the lines of what people wanted before the first 2 seasons. And then this season, they really made her and put her in a leadership role. Like, she is the leader. She takes charge almost every situation she's in. So in this episode, she basically gathers the ladies and takes charge and like, look, we're going to do this. Granted, you're on some, this really is kind of out of your league, but who cares? She's going to do it. And we've already established that once Iris gets her mindset on something, she's going to do it. So it makes sense.
Oh, Iris was being ridiculous this episode.
Oh, yeah.
In the best way.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
That was like my favorite thing with Iris is her sneaking downstairs into the lair of the main bad guy, Amunet.
Yeah,
I think it's the name. Yeah.
Just by the way, I'm just happy Starbuck back, yo. I'm just happy to get.
Come on,
I'm happy to get Katee back, yo. Katee Sackoff, yo.
Yeah, let's keep anything with her working in it. I'm watching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Dog. She doesn't just sneak down on some Lois Lane shit, like, which is already like dangerous as hell, but interrupts the fucking bad guy meetup.
Right.
To be like, hold up, ladies.
Let's not destroy the club. with her bachelorette sash still on, right? Just like you're not.
Like it was so badass, and it was that thing where like they've done on the Arrow this year, where Oliver's now like the Felicity sometimes, and you had those moments where you're like, oh yeah, I guess this is how stupid it feels when these dudes do this kind of stuff. Right. But you know, Barry's gone into fights before where like he either lost his powers or like he could have died. And Iris had to be the one to be like, you're kind of in over your head right now. Like, what are you doing? Right. But as a TV, as the way that TV has been set up in our lives, I don't think about it twice when it's a dude. Like, I'm always like, well, he's Barry, he's the Flash. This is stupid, but it'll work out. When it was Iris, I was like, oh, girl, don't die. Like it was just a different feeling. But I love that the show played with that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know. So you have I'm loving the fact that we're getting more Cecile, you know, because remember when Cecile first showed up as the DA, you could tell he was like, oh, well, the DA is kind of cute, so I wonder if so. And then she hooked up with Joe, and now she's fully integrated into. As far as I'm concerned, she's Team Flash now. Like she's part of the team. It's just what it is. Like you're in there now. And then
also been able to add more lightness to the show with that relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, because I mean, dude, they literally danced to her pregnancy announcement last week.
Right. Right.
Like that felt like season 1 to me, man. Right. Like and it was only 30 seconds, and they took 30 seconds out to just party and celebrate Joe being a dad again, and like that shit felt so good, and I'm like, these are the moments that Arrow can never give us. Yeah. So go that way, and then like now there's a place for two things in my heart.
Right. Well, look, the great thing I love about having Cecile and Joe is you really get like you're getting a black family now. Like it was one of those things where we talk about how black the Flash wasn't. You know, it was one of the blackest shows on TV. I mean, this was crazy what they're doing with the black fatherhood moments, and you would have Joe with Iris and Joe, even like Joe's moments with Barry. We'll get some of those in this episode, but now you're actually getting a legit black family, like Cecile and Joe. You have their child, and then Cecile has a daughter, and so you get Joe dealing with her daughter, and we'll get into that a little bit later on this episode. But it's like we now have like they've somehow snuck in a legit black family, an entire black family. So now is going to be a major part of the show, and that's something that's something I just did not see coming, and so. You know, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but like having all these women be Iris's bachelorette parties is like, you don't know any other women, Iris? Like, this is kind of weird, you know, but at the same time, it works for the narrative of the show. When you think too hard about it, you're like, okay, and but.
Like, the daughter doesn't even go to the bachelorette party.
Right.
So like, they didn't even do the thing where it's like, oh, and let's force this woman into this thing. You know, like one, it would have been kind of weird, but two, you know, just like you would think for the numbers, like, oh, well, now it's 5 women, 6 women out on the. They're like, no, she's got a whole different storyline going, and then also it's because the universes have been so combined, you can bring in Felicity,
right?
You know,
it still makes sense. You're like, we might not have seen it on the show. But my mind can go to the idea of no, they would talk, and be friends. That makes sense, you know.
Especially after this season of seeing Iris take that kind of leadership mantle, and the fact that they've had so many crossovers and stuff. I mean, I know maybe it was the last crossover. No, it wasn't. It wasn't the music crossover because Iris was in that, I believe. It was the joint where they fought the aliens. Mm-hmm. And I remember that, you know, they didn't bring Iris alone. I think that was when they were trying to do the Legends of Tomorrow build up and stuff. But this time, like, it just felt so organic that, like, yeah, man, they would hang out together. Why not, you know?
Well, and it makes sense because it's like, well, when you think about it, you know, when Barry gone for that 6 months, and we know Cisco is always talking to Curtis and Felicity for getting some stuff together. Like they're always talking, so it makes sense. So we might not have seen it, but it would make sense in your mind that over these years that these groups they know and they've been together before. We've seen them interact before. So yeah, it definitely made sense there. Yeah, and then so what happens is you take this bachelorette party and then you turn it into giving us, which I think is a very important thing, building up Caitlin Snow and Killer Frost, because that was kind of another character Caitlin's always been a weird character on the show, right? Where she hasn't really felt like she fits in. I feel like they're doing a better job this season of fitting her in. One, because they're using her for what she's there for. Like Caitlin is basically the doctor. She's there for all the medical, anything that's dealing with biomass or biomatter or anything like that, or just biology. Caitlin's been your person. So this season, it feels like they've been like when they brought her back into the team. It was like, listen, Cisco was like, listen, I have the tech, but I need somebody who knows this. I need you to help me with this. Because it used to be the running joke that Caitlin would be the one in the scientist in the room that always asked things like, well, what's a black hole? And things like that, and it didn't make any sense. But this season they're driving home that, hey, listen, she's a scientist. She knows what she's doing. And that's why she's a member of the team. And then in this episode, it kind of reconciles the whole thing with Killer Frost. So they come in and, they tell us what was happening with, how she was able to control the power, quote unquote, because she wasn't really able to control it. And what was going on with Amunet, which was played by Katee Sackoff. And so, like, it really kind of drives up, and then it brings. There's one thing here that really drove it home for me is when Caitlin said to Iris, like, listen, are we really friends? I mean, do we really hang out? And I was like, you know what? Thank you for addressing that.
Yeah, I mean, they've thought of everything, and the thing is, it's not like the show's going to cast like 5 new women to be Iris's
exactly
best friend, suddenly build them up for a wedding. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to make the best of the characters they've already introduced, and maybe they'll have some extras for the actual wedding thing. But, her mom's dead. Her brother's out of the picture for right now. He's going to be there. I think it's going to be a spectacular affair when they finally pull it off. But, in general, it makes a certain show level of sense that it would be Caitlin just because of who Caitlin is to the crew,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it makes it made sense. And again, addressing kind of the elephant in the room is like, hey, these women don't really hang out. So are they really? And then having Iris kind of address them and like, no, we are friends. We do, and like it made sense, and it kind of, like you said, fix some of the issues that they were having in some of their previous seasons by doing this fun episode of A Ladies' Night Out. And I gotta say, I understand why they didn't have Barry using his powers, because nigga, that Killer Frost and Amunet fighting together, like, it's just fucking awesome.
Yo, at one point they did something because when she fought Amunet the first time, and she got cut in the street, and the cops showed up, and Amunet kills the cops and escape, and Killer Frost escapes. Mm-hmm. I legitimately had a thought the first time she threw the metal shards at her. I was like, why the fuck didn't she just do an ice shield and avoid it that way? And I was like, well, maybe it's just the show doesn't have a budget, or they just didn't want to. Dude, when they did that shit the second time, I was like, okay, I see you, Flash. I see you. Like, why is
she a better Iceman than Iceman has been in the movie, dog?
Right. I also love that apparently Marvel movies and comic books exist in the Arrow or Flash universe. When Felicity goes, "Oh, so you're like the Hulk?"
Right.
Like, oh.
That's the funny thing though, right? Because. And, earlier today, this is kind of off topic, but earlier today it was news from, like, when Kevin Feige was like, he's really excited to see Justice League, and he doesn't, and I've seen other Marvel people like, yo, I don't understand this Marvel versus DC thing. that Marvel versus DC thing is only like a subset of like fans, because the people themselves, like the people making the movies and the the DC people, the Marvel, they don't care because half of them work on both anyway, right? Half of them like both, so it's like to them it's a whole stupid. This whole thing is stupid. So yeah, you're right. I actually love the fact that they threw that Incredible Hulk thing into oh, he's like the Incredible Hulk, and I just had to pause for a minute, like I wanted Felicity to pause and look at the camera and just stare at the camera for like 5 seconds, like it's like the Incredible Hulk.
Do that Herman Cain slow smile,
right? That's what I needed for that moment, because it was just one of those moments where I was like, I see what you did there, right? I see what you did there.
I loved it, man.
Oh, no, it was so great. Good. When Amunet created the fucking shield, though, I was just like, yeah, she's a fucking problem. And I'm not going to, you're not going to want to, Although I will say this. She got to do something better, because when your whole thing is you got to carry around a bucket.
I feel like that's only gonna work one time when the person's like, "What the fuck is that bucket for?" After that, it's like, "Oh, she got the bucket. It's time to go."
You know what it reminded me of? It's like some Captain Planet shit. It's like you gotta carry around some earth, or you gotta carry around a bucket of water or something like that if you want to use your goddamn powers.
Because it was only a special type of metal, so I was like, "Damn, dude, that's like you gotta get a backpack or a purse or something, girl."
Yo, she gotta get the thinker to hook her up, yo. Because it's just like she legit had a fucking bucket, dog. like that's some Batman prep time shit. It's like you gotta put your buckets, you gotta have your buckets around the fight and everything. Like
that's like if Tony Stark's armor, he had to have a bucket with him at all times.
Yo, what if you get what is the name of the Latina housekeeper on Family Guy? The one that would go, no.
Consuela.
What if Consuela replaces the metal in the bucket by accident? So Amunet is out there like, I'm gonna fuck you up, Killer Frost. Wait, did somebody replace my special metal with regular metal? No. No, Mr. Amunet. Right. Oh man, no, I did find that hilarious. But again, you know what though? It's Katee Sackoff, yo. I'm just happy. Like, man,
she got fucked up in the dumbest way too, because like she didn't notice that fucking huge ass magnet over.
Yeah, that is one thing. Like, if your whole power set is based on metal, do not do your deal in a place with a giant magnet. It's just like you might not want to.
Clearly, she hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, might not want to do that. But yeah. But you know what? The thing about it, like everything they did this episode with involving like Killer Frost, it was great, because like even down to the idea of when Caitlin would turn into Killer Frost. Like everything changed, but when she turned back to Caitlin, she had the cut, she had the bruises. She was so like, and when she at the end turns back, when Cisco comes around the corner and she's like, "Come on!" Like Cisco's reaction to seeing Killer Frost, first of all, was just great. Like he had a rough night, and he sees Killer Frost. It's like, "Come on, we're not doing this tonight. I can't. I need a." He wanted to call a timeout. He wanted to take 5. He was like, "Come on, man, not tonight." But when she turned back from Killer Frost, she had the bruises, she had the cuts. She had been through some shit. So it kind of adds more to, what the transformation is with Caitlin, that it's a lot more than just, her personality changes. Her physiology changes. Like everything about her changes. So she can heal and all this stuff. So it makes you wonder if at some point what will happen is Caitlin will get hurt in order to save Caitlin's life. So they'll permanently change into Killer Frost, which again brings back an idea of Iceman, because they happened to Iceman at one point where he felt like he had gotten injured and he couldn't change back into Bobby Drake because he felt like if he did, he'd have a hole in his side. So it's just one of those interesting things about what they did with this character, that I am now invested in Caitlin and Killer Frost.
Yeah, also, Caitlin couldn't remember what Killer Frost did.
Exactly.
So like she was like she turns back and she's like, did I kill anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and it kind of explained the fear that she had about turning into Killer Frost, because I kept thinking her fear was about like, I won't be able to turn back, but it's not. It's kind of like Incredible Hulk to a certain extent, where it's like I'm more worried that Killer Frost gonna catch a body or some shit, and I'm gonna feel responsible for
it. Yeah, and I feel like they kind of retcon that too, because I'm not sure that's how they present it, or maybe they just never did a good job of presenting it, which I think is also part of the case. I'm not sure how they really presented it to us last season, because I always thought that she knew what was happening. It was, you know, she could tell. But now that they kind of explained that, hey, look, I have no idea what happened, and or even when she said at one point, you know, when I go to sleep, Killer Frost comes out and things like that. It's like, oh wow, you've now. It goes back to our problem last season was they made it seem like it was just, you know, like she would just get angry and it would come out. It goes to that angry woman syndrome, right? This is totally different. Like this seems like it's like she has there's two people in one, you know, which then makes me wonder. It's like at some point will they maybe find a way to split them into two people and kind of do like we have. They're not doing this now because obviously Laurel Lance, the Earth, you know, current Earth Laurel Lance is dead, but Black Siren's a totally different, you know, character. I'm wondering if at some point they'll split off Caitlyn and Killer Frost that way. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm now invested in that character where before we weren't, you know. So I'm also wondering what they're going to do with the first of all, it's just how evil is it that this motherfucker's powers were really. I don't think he was white. I kind of wanted him to be a white guy. The meta that they were beating up for his tears for the drug. If he had been a white guy, to make it white people's tears, these motherfuckers are getting high off of white people's tears. I was just like, okay. I mean, I'm. This is one time where diversity kind of kills the joke, because I kind of wanted him to be a white guy, because that would.
I actually felt bad because that dude got the short end of the stick with the powers, bro.
Nigga, you think?
God damn, dude. Like, one, how do you even know you're a meta? Right. Like, how do you even discover that's your power? Like, what do you do?
Well, he apparently was getting beat up before. Like, that's what it was.
But someone tasted his tears like Cartman, dude. That's the next level, dude.
Yes, the tears of unfathomable sadness.
Like, I've never seen anyone get their ass kicked that bad that somebody's like, and now let me taste her tears. Like, that whole process of how he must have got discovered sucks, man.
I need his backstory now. Like that's one of those I need the backstory of.
That's a pipe man level shit right there, dude.
Right. Right. The story of Kite Man. It's like, yeah, I need this now because man, because yo, it was just so fucking evil. It's like, you know, he's sitting there and I'm like, okay, so I mean, they're, you know, kind of almost doing like, you know, that mutant growth hormone thing where they're kind of mining his powers, and maybe they're using that, you know, maybe it's something like he secretes something like, and then she punched and kicked him and then wiped his tears and then used it. I was like, oh, this is another level of evil right here. Like, and
can't they find another way? Like, can't they just make him watch This Is Us?
Right.
Like, they gotta fucking beat this nigga. Damn.
You know what you gotta do? Just have him play election night of 2016 over and over again. Just have the nigga strapped to the seat, watching Trump give a concession, give a victory speech, like just tears coming out, yo. That again, that's what makes it worse, right? Like they literally beat this dude just to get his fucking tears, yo. It's just like, man. But then it makes you wonder. It's like, does his powers only, like, can he cry regular tears? But it only gets he only secretes the substance if you physically beat him. Like, that's like his like the motherfucker was Saru from Star Trek Discovery, where he's literally like some kind of farm animal that secretes like when he's scared, he secretes certain things. Like that's what it makes me think that maybe it's what it is. So you literally gotta beat him to get the good stuff out, you know? So, oh man. Oh God, just so fucking terrible. So fucking terrible. I'm trying to think if there's anything else with the ladies that I enjoy. Like I like the fact that they were able to do the entire thing themselves. You know,
dude, they went and got guns at one point. I was so excited for motherfucking Cecile with a gut full of Joe and toting a fucking weapon. I said, am I supposed to be this turned on right now? Right.
Oh man, everything about it was just. I really enjoy that part and how they did that. And again, they solved it themselves, and I love how when they all came back with the guys, they're just like, "So how did your night go?" "Oh no, night was okay." And they try to lie about how their nights were just uneventful.
Dude, and the thing is, the guys were lying on some total cliche bachelor party shit, and they were lying on stopping a fucking multi-level like criminal conspiracy and shit.
Well, and you know what? One thing I like, I'll mention also that I liked is the fact that Killer again. There were little things in this episode. When they wrote, they kind of addressed things that people might have problems with. Because they were like, "Hey, Amunet has been here since the particle accelerator and all that's like 3 years," and so you're like, "Well, how did nobody know?" So Caitlin even says that to Iris at one point. I think it was Killer Frost. It's like, you're really going to go after a person that you guys that's been living under your noses for 3 years, and you guys didn't even know, and you guys are going to take her down. So it's like, I like how they even addressed that part of it. It's like, she's been out here, you guys just didn't know. Like, she's been able to operate this underground and right under the nose of the Flash, and nobody and you guys didn't even notice. And it kind of shows you that, hey, listen, you guys got problems,
Yeah, it was like she moves around, like, like she made some good, there were good reasons as to why they wouldn't know who she was, too.
Yeah, so definitely like that. The guys, let's get into the guys. Again, they thought of everything. Because when they were when they said they were going to a bachelor party, and I knew that from the preview that Barry's going to be drunk, I was like, wait a minute. It's kind of like the Captain America thing. It's like, he can't get drunk. His metabolism isn't going to allow him to get drunk because it's like he'll just burn right up. So when Cisco pulled out that the special concoction, I was like, I'm glad you guys thought of everything, and this is going to be hilarious. My man Barry can't hold it.
Beautiful. He's like, I also like how before they even went, they had the video montage of Barry as a kid, and you had to go through the awkward, like, oh yeah, that's right, Iris is kind of his sister. Like, like Joe was like, oh, the wedding, I forgot you guys did a fake wedding.
Yeah, that shit was so good, and I love how Dimney shows up. Like, oh no, I thought this was part. I was like, no, motherfucker, you were not invited. That's not.
Yeah, he goes, I thought this was part of a test for my detective skill.
Right, it's just like, no, dude, no. And then when you start talking about state, I was like, this is how I know that you guys are a bunch of squares. Because as soon as this motherfucker Dimmy started talking about, well, I know a place you can get like the great, you can get steak, you can get all. I'm like, he's talking about a strip club, guys. Strip club,
guys.
Right.
Guys, you're going to the strip club.
Right, you're going like, I was like, yeah, you guys don't, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a bunch of squares. They have no idea where they're going. With the exception of maybe Harry, because I think in this episode, where did Harry go? When the fight broke out, Harry wasn't around, and Harry bailed them out. I think Harry got a lap dance.
Harry was in the back.
I think Harry was in the back. I think he was in the champagne room getting it on. Because where the fuck was Harry, yo? Like, how did everybody else get arrested? But somehow Harry was around. He comes out all relaxed. He was like, "I'll take those three. These three are with me. I'll take them. Fine, four. Yeah, my man Harry, he got himself some, yo. He got him loosened up a little bit. Like, I get it, yo. It's fine. But yeah, man, no, it was just so fucking hilarious, man. Going back to the ladies real quick too. I loved it when I think it was who called him Medusa Man, and then I think it's Felicity said, "You know that." No, I think it was Cecile called him Medusa Man, and Felicity was like, "You know that's not a Cisco approved name,
right?"
You know that. You know that's.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, his name was so dumb. Anyway, I was like, oh, what were they gonna call? Like, I don't even know who that dude is. His power, it's like his power was just there to get his ass kicked. Because I was like, dude, you can't fuck with Killer Frost. How the hell are you even an enforcer for Amunet?
Well, that's why she said. Well, you did realize she said that he was her number 3. So if Killer Frost is number 1, who was number 2?
Right. I want to know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know who number 2 was. So yeah. But yeah, back to Barry and them. Barry got drunk and started falling apart. First of all, he's out there telling everybody he was the Flash. Motherfucker, I'm the Flash. Joe's like, yeah, okay, let me go get him. I need to. We have a problem. I need to. When's this wear off? When's he gonna be okay? With this motherfucker, when they were doing. Oh, I think when Joe was talking to, I can't remember when it happened, but they pan over to Barry and he had all this stuff on him, and I thought he had thrown up, and it turns out he was eating chicken wings, and this motherfucker had all the sauce on his shirt, around his lips, and I was just like, this dude is done. Like,
I thought he had thrown up.
Yes.
I was like, what the fuck happened to Barry, dude? Like, are y'all taking care of your mans tonight or no?
Worst wingman ever, dog. Worst wingman ever. They were not looking out for Barry. Like, at this point, you give Barry some water. At this point, like, you just start, Barry, you need to have some water. Just drink some water, Barry. Water. My man was like, oh. Because Joe looked over and was like, yo, Barry, what's wrong? He was just like, man, I just love chicken wings. This is how you know Barry got raised in a black household. And then there's another time when he was just like, Joe, why didn't Rose make room for Jack on the door? I'm like, this nigga is talking about Titanic. He is roasted.
He was so done. I know they had so much fun writing this episode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Drunk Barry is the greatest Barry. This is why you don't. It's like, yeah, no, you're never drinking again. We're never giving you that concoction again, Barry. Nope, not happening. And then in the midst of all this, then you find out that Cecile's daughter is actually stripping at the club for her paper on feminism. Which
also hilarious.
Yeah, just like yeah.
They her face when she saw it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it low key, I was like, why is she making that? That's Cecile's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then that, like, I love that talk they had with, like, Joe's kind of like I mean, you ain't my daughter technically, so I ain't gonna tell you what to do, but I mean, you are definitely stripping and your mama don't know. And she's like, well, it's actually for a book about feminism and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so that's the one thing about this episode that did get me. Was she lying or was she telling the truth, Chris? What do you think?
Oh man, I don't know, cause like I've heard of that before, but because I mean, there are definitely women that I've heard do that. Like they're on assignment and they end up going to strip, and then I think you know what it is. I think she was doing it. I think she was doing the paper. I think the paper is real, but I actually think that she actually just enjoyed it. Cause I think she even says it at one point. Like I think she
said to Joe at the end, like, and my reasons weren't really the ones I was saying or something. And I was like, oh, so you were just stripping.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she, Yeah, I think she was just stripping. I think that's what it was. I think she was just stripping, and
sound like she was gonna tell Cecile over breakfast the next morning.
And you know what? Joe was like, I had nothing to do with this. Joe was like, well, I love when that conversation and Joe was just like, you know, she was talking about strong women. And it was like, listen, well, there's a strong woman we both know and fear. And I was like, that's a good way to put it, Joe. Like, because Joe was like, yo, you not getting me in trouble. We not.
My name is Bennett, and I ain't in it.
Right. You know, you're not technically my daughter. So, and you're grown. So, I'm just saying that, yeah, you need to handle this because I don't want no part of it. When it goes down, I don't want, so.
Like hashtag feminism, and then Cecile walks in with the big belly burger. Like this dude definitely not a vegetarian. He's like, haha, no, that's right.
Right.
You want to talk to your mama?
Yeah. You should I get up now? Should I go ahead and hit? You know what? I think I hear that thing over at Star Labs, and you know I got to help Barry train and do that thing. So I'm gonna. I'm just gonna head out. I'm just gonna head out. You know,
he did everything except do the yawn. Like, time to be
right. Would you look at the time, Joe? You don't carry a watch. Yeah, that's why I said, would you look at the time? I don't have a watch. You know, I gotta get my watch. I gotta go do this.
Yeah, I gotta go, guys.
Right. Oh man. So. I'll end with this. Like I said, I've really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. I will say this one thing, and this to me is a nitpick because we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show. Like, I understand why Wally's not on the show, and I'm fine with it. It's okay with me. The only thing I will say, and again, this is just me personally because I am a huge Wally West fan. And I'm glad that they're putting Dibdee on the show. I mean, we're getting the elongated man on the show, so Ralph being on the show is great. But it almost feels like he's getting the storyline that Wally should have gotten, was trying to get last season, and they kind of fucked up. Come look at it, like just like Wally, Dibdee got his powers due to Barry and the Speed Force. He's going to be trained by Barry, which is something we're trying to get with Wally last season, when we kind of really didn't kind of get it. Right. And his powers are tied to the villain of the season, just like Wally. It's like everything is there. Again, different characters. I'm fine with the storyline they're going with here. I think it's good. But it's just like, yo, you're getting, this is exactly what we wanted from Wally, and because of the bad writing of last season, we didn't get it. And so I can see why some people are going to be upset about Wally. The reason why I'm not, you know, even if Wally's not being treated well, I know they'll bounce back, and when Wally does come back, he'll be fine. Two, there's so many other black people on the show. This is one of those things. This is where inclusion and diversity helps. Like, if one black character gets the short end of the stick, but you have a ton of other ones that are being written really, really well, it doesn't bother me. It just doesn't. Like, we're getting Iris, you know, basically being the leader of the team. We have this whole black family dynamic now with Joe, Cecile, and their unborn child. Like, dude, this is great. Like, we've got to mention, like, the black fatherhood moment this episode was when Joe, when Barry looks at Joe and goes, "Hey, look, you've been kind of off all night. What's going on?" He's like, "You know, I'm scared. You know, I'm scared. Like, wasn't thinking about having a child now, and here I am." And Barry's like, "Hey, look, you raised all these other kids by yourself. Now you have you have Cecile here with you. You have us here with you. You're not going to be alone. So you did a great job by yourself. Imagine what you're going to do now with all these people around you." And then when him and Cecile had a conversation on the couch, and they were both like, "Oh no, it's not just you. I'm scared too." And like, these are real moments. Like, we got these legit moments from two black people and two, you know, a black man and a black woman on TV. Yeah, you're right. You know, I wish I could get more Wally, but I'm not missing him.
I mean, well, there's this thing too that the show does that they've introduced so many characters at this point. I don't know that they have enough time to give everybody their due. If they're not, like, basically the main cast. So then it becomes a discussion of how central to the plot do we want Wally to be. And he's had his moments in the show, in the sun, but if we're being honest, Caitlin took a back seat to Wally last season.
Yep.
You know, like, I think Caitlin's writing got pretty weak last year, and Wally's was pretty strong. This season, it felt like they want to get Caitlin back in the fold, kind of get back to some of the original feels with everything. And now we're gonna watch Wally take a back seat. Also, even with the elongated man, we need to see where that goes because they're so good with doing stuff like taking 2 episodes, giving it's almost like an NBA team, right? Why don't we give the elongated man Wally's minutes for 2-3 episodes? And then we'll, write him out somehow. Wally will come back. But later in the season, when the elongated man's around, we now have a fully fleshed character. We're not just throwing this guy in out of nowhere. This is also the hazard of doing 22 episodes or 23 episodes compared to shorter seasons on other shows. Like, you got to write in a bunch of, to lack of a better term, but almost filler stuff where... Yeah. We do need to have Wally go somewhere. We can't just not have him in the episode without explaining it. But that does mean that when he's not around, he's not going to be around for 22 episodes because it's not Wally's Flash show. Yeah. So they're going to make excuses that, we can decide if we want to accept him or not. But they're going to make excuses for him not to be around. And that's kind of the tough part of what they're doing. And like you said, they have such a big cast and it's so rich and diverse. I'm not getting caught up in Wally not being around, but at the same time, I never really was like, oh, it has to be Barry and Wally all the time either.
Absolutely. Like, I think you nailed it on the head with the idea that these casts are so big and there's so many, and it's not just that the casts are big; their characters, they're so engaging. Like, it's not like they're just a big cast with some throwaway side characters. Like, they all have their own story, they all have their own plot, they all have ways that we've gotten attached to them. So when you do that, man, that's a lot to carry on in an episode. And for the most part, like you said, they're going to have to find some way. Like when they found a way to, hey, listen, we have Jessie, she exists, and we're going to put Jessie on one of the other Earths, and not have
they didn't introduce these characters to be right alongside Barry. Like, that's exactly. We, as much as and I understand this critique, but as much as people go, I'm tired of speedster villains, I was getting kind of tired of adding more speedsters to the roster on the show. Like, I was like, okay, we good now. Like, we can stop anytime y'all want. So, because
the thing about it is, while it was great to see that, it was great to see the Flash family, we hadn't. The problem was we hadn't fully established Barry as the Flash, right? Yeah. We've had 3 seasons of him kind of coming into it. This season just feels like the first season where Barry is confident in himself as the Flash. And so
also Barry has a family. Like, that's the thing.
Right, there you have it too.
Yeah, it's because of how they set up the Arrowverse where everyone has a team. Well, the first season was us finding out his team, right? It's Iris, it's Cisco, it's Wells, it's Caitlin, it's Joe. There's only so much room to grow where you can keep growing those characters and then introduce 6, 7, 8, 9, all these more characters and have them grow at the same rate as the main cast. It just wasn't going to happen. I think the thing that I can understand if people wanted them to do it, because I kind of wanted them to too, but I understand it wasn't realistic. If they would have done the thing they did with Diggle on Arrow, where it's just like, let's just do 4 or 5 episodes of Wally being Flash. I understand people that wanted that. Like, that's a legit, like, I could see you being like, oh man, I was keyed up for that. We didn't get it. But other than that, it's not the Wally show.
Yeah, like, and even like we talked about this before. Daniel talked about this. Like, while we wanted that, when you really think about it and then think about what Arrow did, it's like it actually makes way more sense for Diggle to take over Green Arrow because he's been established. We've seen Diggle grow into that role. We're still kind of like, Barry's not even Barry wasn't comfortable with being the Flash last season, really, right? And so we're gonna have Wally, who is Kid Flash. It's like when you think like my internal like wants are like, oh no, I needed that, But when I sat down and actually laid it out in front of me, laid down the argument, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. And maybe at some point we get it. If this show continues on, I have no doubt that we will. They'll do something kind of like what they're doing with Arrow and things like that. But honestly, you know what? If they don't, again, this is the Flash with Barry Allen, so it is what it is. But yeah, man, I thought it was really great. Anything else you have you want to say about this episode before we end this?
Nah, we got everything.
Yeah, I again, this season's been really great. I've really enjoyed it, and yeah, I can't wait to see what I feel really good about this season. I was worried about it, but now it's great to have it back. So. Again, folks, you guys know where you guys can find us. Super Tuesday recap on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google. You can also get us on MTR Network. Hey, so go to the YouTube channel, subscribe on MTR Network. We are, I think, only 50 subscribers. We're like at 650 or just over 650 subscribers. We're getting close to 700. Let's get to 700 by the end of this month. And then we'll start working towards getting to 1,000. And I'm putting out new content. We're putting out I got a lot of ideas for content we're going to put out exclusively only on YouTube. So please do that. And again, remember our mailbag episodes coming in the next couple of weeks. We'll get in before the end of November. We're going to be talking about some Star Wars stuff. And we'll also probably talk about Justice League because by that time it'll be out. So email us at mailbag@mtrnetwork.net if you want to get in on that one. And if you sign up for the Patreon account and you get one of the streaming accounts, I think we're going to stream that one. So that might be an episode that we actually stream live. So sign up for the Patreon account so you can see us live. And Rod, you tell everybody where they can find you. I mean, at this point they should know, but where can they find you and Karen, who is living her best white woman of color life? And I think they're in Jamaica, right?
Yeah. You can find us at theblackguywhotips.com, or you can find our show on the same places that you listen to MTR Network. Just search The Black Guy Who Tips, and our show will come up.
Yep. Thank you again, Rod. Thank you very much for joining me today and getting on this review. We're going to get one more. We're going to do a Legend of Tomorrow. But thank you. And when Karen comes back, we got to get her on too. I know she really wants to be on Super Tuesday, so we'll definitely get Karen on as well. So
she loves Super Tuesday, guys. She's an avid listener, never misses a show, and it's so funny because when she when we're watching the shows, she knows so much more than me because of you guys. Like I'll say something and I can tell that she's getting that same look on my face when she asks me something that I'm like, you don't know this? I was like, wait, where the fuck did this dude come from? And Karen's like, you don't know? I'm like, oh God, I forget I asked. I'm sorry.
That is hilarious. Oh, that's funny. That's fucking hilarious.
I learned so much from you and D-Palm, especially because D-Palm just knows all the nerdy DC shit.
Yeah,
right?
he knows all this shit.
So she's just like straight up like, you don't know Elongated Man? I'm like, I just been calling him Stretchy Dude.
I just been calling him Stretch Armstrong, yo. Like that's just... Oh man, that's fucking hilarious. So anyway, folks, thank you very much for listening, and until next time, we're out of here. Peace.